I think we're live. We might be live. Whatever. What's up, YouTube? We are on the Shootin' the Breeze podcast part 2. I'm your host, Cameron Hayes. My co-host, Ashton Johnson. Say hey.
Yes, hey.
And tonight we have Chris Roberts on the show with us. Chris, say
hey.
Hey. All right, Chris. So we're going to start the show by telling the viewers that if you have any questions throughout the podcast, we can see these questions. We might not answer them right away unless they're relevant to what we're talking about at the time. But we're going to save the questions for the end if they're not relevant to what we're directly talking about. All right. So, Chris, tell us who you are.
Hi, I'm Chris.
Nailed it. We're done.
I'm Chris Roberts. Some of you may know me. Some of you probably don't. You want me to do like an intro, like full on where I'm from, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. I'm Chris Roberts. I'm from the suburbs of Detroit, actually. Currently reside down in Georgia, of all places.
Gross.
I don't know a little bit about me. I guess I spent like 17 years in the Army, just retired. I know it seems a little weird. I'm medically retired, obviously. Earlier this year, actually November time frame. I just spent nearly 5 years of that time overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan. Served in just about every position as an infantryman, and spent my last couple of years actually teaching out at the United States Army Sniper Course.
Dope. That's dope. All right. So, first question, because, me and Ashton are both very passionate about our GATs. Gas or bolt?
Both. Got that answer?
Ashton. It smell like bitch up in here. I need you to give me an answer. Gas or bolt? We don't need no bitch stuff.
All right. Seriously, I really am the right tool for the right job kind of guy. So I prefer a gas gun. That's kind of where my roots are, what I grew up shooting in my, vast shooting career. And, I would say that I prefer a gas gun. Preferably, I still run bolts, though. Like I said, right tool for right job. So I definitely don't prescribe to the bolt guns are more accurate than gas guns argument. I've seen plenty of gas guns. I've owned plenty of gas guns that shoot as well as any bolt action that I have. I have a few custom bolt actions out in the garage, and I got some gas guns that shoot just as well. But when I say right tool for right job, you will never get the muzzle velocity out of a gas gun that you get out of a bolt. It's just the mechanics of it. And in the game of most of the long-range shooting game that we do, speed is king. So the faster that projectile flies, the flatter it's going to fly. You couple that with a high BC bullet, and you got what dreams are made of. So if I were going to shoot some small targets, PRSE type matches of that nature, it's probably going to be a bolt. But if I'm shooting a DMR match, a sniper match, anything of that nature, I'm gonna shoot a gas gun.
Right on. So it's funny that you mentioned the velocity thing. So me and Ashton did a test on my YouTube channel where we took an 18-inch gas gun and we took an 18-inch Remington 700. But the 18-inch gas gun had a lapped barrel, like a hand lap barrel, and it was a really good barrel. It was a polygonal rifling 3-groove. It was a black hole weaponry barrel. And the barrel that was on the bolt gun was a factory Remington 700. And as you know, because I'm sure you've looked through those, with an endoscope and stuff like that, you've seen that they've got, from the factory, some pretty rough ridges that cause additional friction inside of those 5-groove barrels, or the 5R barrels. And what we found in my test was the barrel makes a really big difference in your velocity, because we were getting almost 100 feet per second more velocity out of the gas gun over the bolt gun because the barrel was hand lapped.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's not, it's hard to do an apples to apples comparison when you're comparing two different types of platforms, because you're never going to have the same barrel, and there's so many differences between them. I guess I spoke in absolutes, and I try not to do that with anything, because nothing is an absolute. But Yeah, I'd say typically, apples to apples, as close as you could. Your bolt guns are going to generate more muzzle velocity. But yeah, you're absolutely correct. I mean, different types of rifling, the amount of rifling that's in there, 5R versus polygonal versus lapped versus, the number of different options that they're all going to have different consistencies and perform differently.
Yeah. I mean, like, and then that goes to also, like people say that it's impossible to get, like the bug hole groups out of your gas gun, where they're like, oh, if you want to shoot bug hole groups, you got to shoot a bolt gun. But the Snipers Unknown last year, and people were, blown away because I shot a .17 group with my gas gun that I normally shoot with my hand loads. I shot a .17 and people were losing their minds because they were like, oh, with a gas gun on. I was like, yeah. And your bolt gun's shooting 1 MOA. See you at the match tomorrow.
I don't prescribe to the small groups thing a whole lot. I mean, granted, we all love to shoot one hole groups or clover leaves or bug holes or whatever we're going to call it today. But the truth of the matter is, and I was actually just listening to another podcast recently, and it's like, well, what kind of shooter are you? Are you a one hole shooter? Because you can do that, not you per se, but because you can do that here or there, does that make you a one hole shooter? I've found that most precision guns that are quality made outshoot my ability. I am not a .34 MOA shooter, but I have a gun that prints .34, and so if it doesn't print .34 when I'm behind it, I'm really okay with it.
Yeah, I had mentioned in the last podcast that I've actually won a precision rifle match with a 2 MOA gun. Well, and then also, you being one of the dudes who knows a thing or two about the 322-10, it's a combination. It's the rifle, shooter, ammunition combination. So, and then also, your weapons deployment zone, your percentage of hit probability, stuff like that. That all changes depending on, your weapon, shooter, ammunition combination. So I went into a match with a 2 MOA gun because, of the ammunition that I was shooting out of it. That gun printed pretty consistently half MOA until I switched ammo. So then, but then I still ended up doing really well in that match.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because so we sat down, and when I say we, I mean a bunch of us instructors. When I was still out at the schoolhouse, we sat down with the guy who runs the lab and the guy who runs the training division for applied ballistics. This is, I don't know, probably about a year and a half ago. They were down here for an ELR match.
Brian?
Our buddy. Yeah, our boat. What's that?
Brian?
No, they're actually both Chris's. Chris Palka and Meineke. So they were down here for an ELR match that Joe was running. It was the first one that he ran, actually. And when we were down here, we got him to come by and talk to our guys from the schoolhouse and kind of dispel some rumors, talk about their process, a lot of stuff. I mean, we talked for a few hours. It was actually awesome. Met at the bar at Tom Fuller's place at Armageddon Gear. And yeah, he's got a bar. And we just sat down, drank beers, and kind of talked shooting for a long time. And they showed us the WES, and they showed us some of the hit probability stuff, and get in there and you can tweak your ability to call wind, your ability to shoot, the inconsistencies in your gun and your scope tracking and just all of that stuff. And it's like when you really kind of get into the weeds of it, you realize like, man, maybe I'm working on the fringes so much that it's just not making a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've played with some of those numbers too, because like, Ashton can tell you, and I'm sure too, like whenever I go to matches, I don't use, I don't do the Kestrel thing, like everybody's punching in their Kestrel, every single person there or whatever. And, and it was that post that got people all ass hurt about the 300 meter IPSC, and people are punching in numbers in their Kestrel. And I'm like, for why? Yep. People just rely on that shit too much.
Oh yeah, you gotta be aware of what your danger space is and what the rise and fall of the bullet's going to be at that distance. I'm a data card guy. Don't get me wrong. I pull my Kestrel out and I confirm that nothing crazy has changed because here in Georgia, I've had a 40-degree temperature change between morning and afternoon shooting. And so you will start to see some deviations in your elevation at that point. But, for the most part, yeah, like I'll make a data card, and that's what I'll run with it. Because I'm pretty much always within 1 or 2 tenths. And when you're talking about, most of our matches, we're shooting one MOA or bigger targets. Outside of some of the older mammoth stuff and a couple of these other matches that like to push you to the limits. I mean, that's just not realistic targetry, and that's not what most matches have.
Oof. All right.
Say anything back there? That's the truth.
Well, no, you were absolutely speaking in truth. So for our viewers here, Chris is very, very passionate about, like the competitive shooting stuff, just like I am and everything like that. He was not bad-mouthing mammoth right there. But to be honest, I don't shoot mammoth because I'm not trying to be the best at walking. So there's that.
Funny that you say it, because my very first shooting competition, I was actually probably going to go in this later on, but my very first shooting competition was mammoth. Of all matches to ever shoot as your first, that was my first. And I'm sure some of the followers here have seen the pictures they posted of the feet that were all messed up and had big, huge chunks of skin taken off them. Those were my feet, actually. They were photos. Don't get me wrong. I got nothing wrong with a mammoth. It's just, it's a different animal.
Yeah. Well, and you were talking about a gun being maybe a tenth or 2/10 off. For reference to some of the people who are still kind of new to long range, because that is kind of, what this whole podcast is about is, long range. We want to be informational and stuff like that. A tenth of a mil at 1,000 yards is 3.6 inches. And for reference, or just so you guys, have an idea, about 10 feet per second difference in your standard deviation of your extreme spread. If you have a velocity difference of about 10 feet per second, that's going to be almost 10 inches of dispersion right there on your target. So if you're a tenth of a mil, that's 3.6 inches. And then you might have, 10 feet per second difference. That might be 10 inches right there. And all of these things kind of compound each other. So the little things, you guys are taking a drink at the same time. It's cute. So these little things, all kind of add up. So you might have only been about to miss by maybe you might have been like a tenth off at first, but then there was 10 other factors like your angle of fire or a velocity change or something like that. All of these things, your cant. All of these things compounding together cause for a complete miss.
I'll tell you right now, your cant is one of the biggest things that we see, or I would see. And I think is a common error for a lot of shooters is cant. Everybody gets their cant lined up and they fire that first round. And then that gun kind of settles into their shoulder pocket or settles into the sandbag or whatever it is. And then they don't realize hey, now you've got cant in your gun and you need to go through that process of, establishing a stable position before you fire that next round. And it's funny, a lot of guys, they'll miss by a couple tenths. They won't readdress their gun and they'll fire again, and they don't understand why they're off again, even though they adjusted for how far they were off to begin with.
I see that a lot in bolt guns as well when they go to rack hard, get the whole can of the rifle off.
But I'll tell you what, bolt guns. So for all the things that I think bolt guns are really good for, one of the things they're really bad for is follow-up shots. And when I say that, what I'm referring to is watch most bolt gunners when they cycle their bolt. They will come off of their gun. And that's one of those things that I remember coming through the schoolhouse and, we were
I do see that a lot.
When I went through school and the instructors would walk by and kick you, just kick you like a dog, man. If you come off your gun when you cycled your bolt.
So you know what I think bolt guns are good for? You could use them for an oar on a boat, or you could use them as to wedge stuff sometimes.
Or you can use them to beat Cameron with a gas gun.
I tell you, so I've got 2 Valkyries, and I know you're not. But I'm going to go there anyways. I got 2 Valkyries. One's a gas gun, one's a bolt gun, and it do something about that bolt gun is just right. The gas gun, it shoots awesome too. I mean, that's why I shot in your match. That's why I shot in Ash's match, and I shot in a few of these other matches. It's a great gun. But that 224 bolt gun it's one of those ones where when you shoot it, you just go.
Yeah, I shot a 224 Valkyrie bolt gun not too long ago, and it was the first one that I ever shot that I was just like, okay, I might give 224 Valkyrie a shot. The reason that I say I'm not a huge fan of the chambering 224 Valkyrie isn't necessarily because of some of the issues that they run into. That shit's going to happen. Like that's going to happen regardless of, but there was a Gen 1, a Gen 2, and a Gen 3 of the Valkyrie chambering. And like, so if you have the more modern Valkyrie, they changed their throat and their lead because people were trying to shoot, heavy bullets. They were trying to shoot light bullets. They were trying to shoot this. They were trying to shoot that. They were trying to get this kind of velocity out of it, all this other stuff. And so they went through 3 different like iterations. Like it was the best way I could describe it is Gen 1, Gen 2, and Gen 3 of their chambers. But nobody heard about it. Nobody knew about it. Unless they actually were measuring chambers from like the first Valkyries that came out to the ones that are coming out now, So there were 3 different generations that people didn't really pay attention to. I also think that the 224 Valkyrie could have been done better just based on a case capacity and pressure standpoint. I feel like if they would have started off with the Grendel case, they could have maximized their capabilities a little bit better than starting with the 6.8 SPC case.
Then nobody would have been able to make the 22 Grendel.
What's up?
Then nobody would have been able to make the 22 Grendel.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But what about the 22 Grendel? That's a thing. That is a thing.
I know a guy running a 22 Grendel, and if he shows up to a match and he's shooting that gun, he's in the top 2, if not number 1.
You mean Lane?
I mean, I might be talking about Lane.
You're definitely talking about Lane. Lane and Ben both shoot them, but they did have some issues though. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, sure. He has issues all the time because he's pushing that thing to the limit. But it doesn't mean that his gun doesn't shoot. It doesn't mean that he can't shoot it phenomenally.
Those are both big facts. Yeah, he was. So in case you guys are unaware of the situation, they were loading these things up with BLC2, or I'm sorry, CFE223, and they were smoking these fucking things out of these guns. Like I'm talking like 3150 with an 88 grain ELD, and they were like blowing bullets up and shit because they did their testing in like 40-degree cooler weather, and they go out to Georgia, like where we were at the match, and it was like 40 degrees hotter, and they were just blowing shit apart. It was awesome.
Well, still, guys, so for all of Valkyrie's faults, a lot of guys, they didn't realize some of those same things. There was problems with the early 90 grain jackets and stuff like that. I was one of those guys who actually I stayed away from it for a long, long time. I wasn't even going to mess with it, and I was just kind of wanting to build like a little bit more higher performance AR-15, and one of my buddies, Ben, up at Dawn of Defense, he's a little gun manufacturer up in northwest Georgia, right outside of Chattanooga. He was like, "Let me build you a Valkyrie, man. I've been building these Valkyries, and they shoot great." So I was like, "All right, fine, man. Build me a Valkyrie, And then I reached out to Jim Gillian because he's not too far away from me either, and he was the face of Valkyrie for a while, and he wasn't too happy with how it rolled out. And what I gathered from it was he felt that there was still some more development needed before they actually rolled it out. But I got with him and I was like, "Hey, help me make this thing sing." And Ben built me a great gun. I shot factory ammo in it for a long time, and then Jim helped me get once I was finally happy with it and wanted to start messing with other stuff other than Valkyrie factory ammo. Jim sat down with me and we came up with a load for my gun that shoots great with the 80.5s. But yeah, I mean there was casing problems, there was bullet problems, there was powder charge problems, there was chambering problems, and that's partly why, I guess I'm kind of a snob, but I prefer to use quality, well-known companies when I'm building a gun, because there's a lot of crap out there. And when you start dealing with some of the lower range stuff, you start running into a lot more of those problems. And I think it's just because they don't have the ability to do the testing and the proofing on their systems before they roll them out. So
I can agree with that for sure. Ash, how do you feel about 224 Valkyrie?
I like it. I've shot a couple of them that buddy Jamie Ogburn built and got beat by a couple of times. They're tack drivers done right.
One thing I was going to bring up earlier is part of the reason why I have like the bolt and the gas gun and the comparison between the two is I've put the same ammo through it, and both my guns shoot every ammo I put in them great. But the gas gun shoots it shoots these 90 grain factory loads that I was messing around with, like 120 feet per second slower.
Mm.
Yeah, it's obscene how much slower it is.
That's substantial.
Throw them in my bolt gun and like I said, 120 feet faster. It's ridiculous. And believe it or not, and I actually have the pictures to prove it. I'm shooting some 90 grain factory loads through this bolt gun, and I'm getting 3.4 SDs.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah,
Like,
I've seen some pretty insane SDs on some stuff before, and just been like, damn, this is factory ammo. But then you know as well as anybody else, because you've had to deal with the 118 LR issues and shit like that, and the AB 39 or the AB 39 issues and stuff like that. From lot to lot, you might have one lot that's fucking shit hot, 10 standard deviation or 15 or some shit like that, and then the next lot you've got fucking 35 or some shit.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, and that's why I try to, whenever I buy ammo, especially if I'm buying factory, I try to get as much of it as I can so I can stay on that particular lot for a long time. And so I mean, I've got a lot of the 90s, and when I say a lot, I mean a lot number of them and a lot of that lot number. And so I'm just gonna be running those until I burn up a barrel, and then we'll try it again in the next barrel.
Yeah, that's the reason why I'd shot that match with the 2 MOA gun that I keep bringing up. So that one was, I had bought a lot of Hornady American Gunner just because I wanted to see how it ran through one of my Creedmoors.
Had some great results with that stuff.
And I took one lot of it, and it shot half MOA out of 3 of my Creedmoors. And I was like, damn, this is like the budget stuff, and it shoots like that. And then I went ahead and bought 800 of them. So then I bought 3 more cases of it because they come in a case at 200. Bought 4 cases. Sorry, hashtag maths. I bought 800 of them, and that lot, the next lot that I bought, shot 2 MOA out of like all of my guns. The best I got out of it was my most expensive Creedmoor. It shot 1.5, and I was like, shit.
You know what I've actually, and this was one of the real things that got when I started shooting Valkyrie, like pretty motivated behind it, was up the road here at good night.
Tell him we said good night.
Up the road at Academy Sports, I'm buying the 75 grain American Eagle stuff for $9 a box. My gun loves it. And it's like at $9 a box, I don't think I can load stuff cheaper than that. And SDs are good, muzzle velocity is good. It's like 600 and in out of a gas gun. Like, I'm there all day long. And that's actually what my buddy Josh shot. He shot my Valkyrie with the 75 grain American Eagles. That was his first match, but yeah, he shot that stuff.
At my match?
Yeah, at your match.
Dope. Okay, so we're still on the gas versus bolt subject. Like, this is what it expanded onto. That's what podcasts do.
Further, I mean, we can move on.
Yeah, so we're gonna push forward. So, long range experience. I know that you had briefly touched on it whenever you were talking about who you are and stuff like that. Talk about your long range experience, like where your love for the game started, kind of stuff, and where it is today.
Where did my love start? Oh, that's a whole different. I wasn't ready to talk about that.
Started with bolt guns, didn't it?
Shut up! Shut your whore mouth, Ashton.
I didn't really even start shooting guns until I joined the military. Nobody in my immediate family hunted or anything like that. But what is funny is I knew I wanted to shoot guns at a younger age, And so when I was like 13, I went to hunter safety. Like I said, nobody in my family hunted, but I wanted to go to hunter safety because I knew at the hunter safety class I was going to attend that they let us shoot guns. I actually met my wife there, so good things came of that. But fast forward like I don't know, 9 years, 8 years, and I'm in Iraq for my second time, and my squad leader was actually a sniper, and I wasn't in the recon section at the time. I was in a line company, but he had come over from the recon section, and they had an extra M24 in the battalion, and so we were doing tons of OPs and stuff like that, and just overwatching roads for IED and stuff. People putting IEDs in, and they kicked him over an M24, and we started to pull OPs and small kill teams and stuff like that, and he started to teach me the way of the gun. Fast forward a couple more years till 2009, and I went to sniper school. So a buddy of mine had done real good in the class, and they had asked him to come back at AI, and so he was actually one of my team leaders at the time. He worked for me, and he was like, "Hey man, you should walk on." They said they'll take walk-ons, obviously if somebody else drops out, and I'll make sure you're at the front of the line. So I was like, "All right, cool, man." He's like, "But by the way, you have 5 days. You got to get ready. Your physical done, and you need a psych eval." And I was like, "Oh, all right, is that it? Perfect, and so I went. I did well. Graduated. I actually graduated on September 11th, 2009. But September 11th, which we all thought was super rad. Actually, my Valkyrie has my graduating day down there, so suck it. But that's a serial number, by the way. And that's kind of where it started. So I PCS'd a couple times. I served in some recon sections. I didn't serve in some recon sections. I went to Germany. I actually taught the Small Arms Master Marksman course as their marksmanship PI. Came back from Germany, and eventually ended up over at sniper school. And so for the last 2 or 3 years, I've been teaching out there up until my retirement. So that's how I got into the long range game. And it was when I got to the schoolhouse that I actually started to shoot competitions and stuff. So shortly after I got there, I met a guy named Chris R.
Rants.
Chris Rants.
Love that guy.
You ever listen to the Everyday Sniper of Frank Gallen? He refers to the Chris R's. That's us. But CR squared for life.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, we went through the certification process and just clicked. Started to shoot real well together. So we started shooting team matches. And like I said, we shot Bushnell. Very first match for me, we took 11th place. I think it was 2018. Didn't goose egg a single stage, which was our goal. That was like our number one goal was, hey, we're going to go out here. We are going to crush every ruck, and we are going to not goose egg a stage, because we figured if we didn't get disqualified for rucking and we didn't goose egg a stage, that we'd do all right.
Now, did you camp as well, or what division were you in?
What's that?
Did you camp as well, or you just rucked in?
Yeah. So we were in the tough man division. So it was rucking, camping, whatever you want to call it. Camping. It was camping. It was actually, because it was January.
It was hard enough for me just for the rucks and staying in the hotel.
Yeah. Mechanized division for life. Mech division. I did enough rucking for the Army. Fuck that.
In the last 3 years of me being in Georgia, it has snowed here one time in this part of Georgia. And it just so happened to be that winter when we were running freaking Mammoth. It wasn't while we were out there. It was a couple weeks later. I was like, this is bullshit.
I actually just shot the Bushnell like a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
And it was fucking snowing. It was like in the morning it was like 19 degrees or some shit like that. And then like it got warm enough to where we were wearing t-shirts by the end of the day and shit. And I was like, man, it must suck to have to camp out here.
Yeah, that's how it was. In the morning we'd be all freaking trying to thaw out. Halfway through the day, I've got my pants rolled up to my knees. I got my knees rolled up, and all my snivel gear is off, and yeah, it was a good time though. Like I said, we did well, or at least we felt like we did well, and it kind of scratched that itch, and then I kept scratching.
And then where are you with long range stuff today?
So I still work with the Army. Like I said, I'm retired. Still in the community, still affecting the long range community, and that's all I'll say about that.
All right, I can respect that. Some of that don't ask, don't tell stuff, I reckon. All right, so you yourself are hosting a match soon, April 11th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So I actually got teamed up with the guys who ran the Sniper Unknown Challenge. Actually, to do some instructing stuff. And we were just kind of all chatting on the group chat one day, and I was like, it was shortly after running your match, and I was like, hey man, let's run a DMR match. What do you guys think? And they were all like, yeah, sure, do it. And that's kind of how it started. I reached out to you and kind of spoke to you about it and what my intentions were, and we moved forward. So
I really like appreciated that, because like, so one of the things I never did tell you, I guess we'll bring it up here in front of our 4.5 viewers, was I had so many people messaging me about your match before I posted about it and said that like I was promoting for your match and stuff like that. So many people were messaging me, and they were like, hey, are you hosting this match? And then like I had people saying stuff like, hey bro, somebody totally stole your match. And I had people saying, like people copied and pasted your match, blah, blah, all this other stuff. And I was like, no, this is not my match. This is Chris's match. I was like, I don't have a copyright or TM on this. I was like, he appreciated the way I ran my match. He liked it, and he wants to run one similar. And I can't be mad at somebody for that, because I was like, that just, to me, that was just like, you liked my match so much, you wanted to do your version of it. So that was like a compliment to me.
Yeah, and I still would have reached out had I run it somewhere else, but I figured that it was pretty close to where you had run your match, and so kind of playing in your backyard, man. I figured that was only the right thing to do. Just tell you I was going to swing on your swing, So I mean, I would have done it anyways, but that's beside.
So it's like rape. It's going to happen whether you want it to or not. That was a bad joke. That was a bad joke for live. But so continue talking about your match.
So yeah, April 11th, the Panteo Designated Marksman match. I know it's really, really creative name, and probably a lot of you guys are wondering what Panteo. I couldn't tell you. We just kind of went with it because that's where we're going to hold it at. We're holding it at the Panteo Sportsman's Club up in I think it's Swansea, South Carolina. So just a little bit outside of Columbia, South Carolina. And it's going to be a good time. We're opening the gates at 8. I think the match itself will probably kick off around 9 for legalities. And then we'll run it until it's complete, expecting sometime probably shortly after lunch. Just a cool little one-day match.
Give us some of them deets, because like I know whenever I've been a match director for matches and stuff like that, people were hammering me questions, just constant questions. And I had to keep telling people either watch the video or read the stage brief and stuff like that. So give us the deets. Give us a little bit of the deets that you haven't put out yet, so that they're like exclusive to people who actually watch this podcast.
I'll do my best. Most
target distances and target numbers.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you run this stage. No, so yeah, actually, our information campaign on this match has been pretty good, between you pushing it and then my posts and some of the other William. I think has been sharing it to a couple pages and stuff. So honestly, haven't got lit up about questions, which is kind of surprising. There's been a few, but yeah, like I said, 11 April, 08, be there. It's going to be a 2-gun match, so a little bit different from you there. It will be a pistol and rifle match. There's 3 divisions. I've got and I think this is actually mirrors what you did, but it's 0 through 4 power. So if you want to run a fixed 4 power, like a ACOG or I don't know, one of those other ones, or you want to run a red dot, like that's your category. We have the 1x8s, 1x6s, limiting out at 8 power. And that's kind of the DMR class of guns and shooters. And then we're going to do the full sniper, so anything over 8 power. So, and I know there's a few of you out there that have that new Vortex 1x10, and that's great. You are still going to be in the sniper category. So it's not my fault that you decided to buy that optic after I decided what my categories were going to be for divisions. So,
well, like it was just like, for my match, whenever I'd, come up with the divisions like that, I was thinking like what was the most logical. And the reason that I think you call it regular guy division, I called it troop division, the 1 to 4.
so
I had done that because of Army Regulation 350-66. I wanted soldiers to be able to come to my match, and almost every unit now has ACOGs in their INTO.
yeah,
So
well, I actually had a guy who messaged me not that long ago, and he was like, "Hey man, if I show up with a 16-inch AR and a red dot, like, would that be okay to compete with?" And I was like, "Yes, it absolutely would, because there's going to be some stages where you will be able to crush the competition. There's going to be some stages that you're sucking, but I mean that could be said for just about any platform, any setup that's going to be out there.
Yeah.
No gun is going to be perfect for every stage. That's a fact."
And I tried to do that with my match too. Like I tried to have, like 1 or 2 stages that were good for, people in sniper division, 1 or 2 stages that were good for people in troop division, and then 1 or 2 stages that were good for people in designated marksman division.
Yeah.
And I mean, like ultimately every stage was doable in every division because that was how I proofed the stages.
Mhm.
Like I proofed every one of them. So like it was doable in every division. It was just, like there were some that made it easier for sure.
And
Yeah.
then they had some bad wind when the match actually came out.
Oh my God, yes. So
Weird.
we had talked about like tiers of wind. Not in this podcast, but I had talked about it in like some of my YouTube videos and stuff like that. So people who were shooting the stage on my match where they were shooting off of the Connex, but they were also shooting like over treetops and stuff. They were in the 3rd tier of wind by the time their bullet hit the max ordnance. So I was like, oh my God, they probably got like 35 mile an hour winds pushing their 55 grain bullets and 62 grainers and 77 grainers. I was like, they're going to be aiming at one target and hitting the one on the far left. It was insane.
I had to RO that stage. I watched, guys get 10 shots off in a 5-inch dirt clod on the berm 3 feet from the target. I'm like, oh, please correct.
Yeah,
no, send another one in the same spot. It's okay.
Yeah, I was definitely one of those shooters that, I remember I read the wind as best as I could. I fired off a round, didn't see where it went, fired off another one, same hold, finally picked it up, was like, okay, I think that was here, made an adjustment, totally not there. So, okay. So I shot the 4 quadrants of the target. And I was like, one of these is going to hit. And once I figure that out, then I'll know where I'm at. So I got it top, bottom, left, right, finally got a hit. And then I timed out.
Yeah, the majority of the competitors would get up and ask, where was I? I'm like,
all over the place.
A foot off right edge, a nice 5-shot group or whatever it was.
Yeah, my whole
elevation was perfect. You nailed
not match what I was seeing for wind.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of my like, that wind on that stage. I was just like, holy shit, because it wasn't that bad whenever we did whenever we proofed the stage. Now it was raining whenever we proofed, but the wind wasn't like that, and the wind was just ridiculous whenever you guys were shooting that stage. I was like, man, I was thinking about adding more time to it before you guys shot it, but I was just like, fuck them kids, they got this. But
give someone credit, they did. Someone did clean it, and in the wind
BJ did with a fixed 4 power.
Yep, BJ Underkoffler, that is my boy. Love that guy.
He made 1 or 2 wind corrections, and as soon as I said hit, he he sent the 8 with the same wind call.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. That's one of the things that I'm still getting behind is shooting fast. Because in my community, every bullet's accountable, right? So, shooting a bunch of bullets at one target is something that doesn't sit well with something deep down inside, and so I usually have to realize it partway through a match after I've left a whole bunch of targets on stage and be like, oh shit, I need to start shooting faster.
I need to be more gooder. I need to be more gooder.
Yeah, well, there's that.
I know the reasons behind why Cameron was running his match. Can you tell me some of the reasons you're wanting to run your match and how it came about?
Yeah, so just real quick before that, I want to make sure, I know a lot of people have probably passed this up when reading up on my match. Bring a sling. It's in the descriptions of the match.
People still aren't going to bring it.
A sling, and they're going to have a hell of a time.
I put that in my match description. I can't tell you how many people did not bring a sling.
Well, I'll tell you, Scott Peterson and I both brought a sling, and found out really quickly that the quick release flush cut on our Geisley rails did not work because the slings that we were using had a really long detail in them, and they would actually run in contact or run into the barrel and not be able to sit all the way in there. So we ended up having to 550 cord the front of our slings to our rails so we could do it. But I mean, we made it work. So, but anyways, to your question. So, I just wanted to run a fun one-day match that guys could have a good time, hang out with their buddies, and, challenge themselves. Kind of get back to what I was heard was kind of like the beginning of these shooting matches. You see what a lot of them have grown to these days, and some good, some bad. I'm not going to specifically bash anybody because I'm sure there's somebody who can bash my event. So I'm not going to try to do that. But
you can't make everybody happy.
Yeah, you can't make everybody happy. But I feel like there's a lot of spirit of what we're trying to do out there that's kind of lost in today's matches. You used to hear about some of those ones like the Sniper's Hide Cup and Rifle Zoni and Allegheny and some of those other ones where it was like a small, tight-knit group of guys, and a lot of them were from all over the country that would come together, once or twice a year or whatever it was, and they'd shoot these matches and have a great time. And a lot of them were like, military or ex-military or law enforcement guys, just doing what they loved. And, now there's a lot of commercialism and, a lot of people are out there just to see what kind of prizes they can take home. And then a lot of those guys that want to take home certain kinds of prizes also don't keep them either. So, there's a whole nother issue with that. And then with my match, I wanted it to be relatively affordable. You could run 5 of my matches for the cost of the investment to run a sniper match. And don't get me wrong, those have their place too. But that's the kind of thing that, a lot of shooters can do maybe once a year. So what do they?
There's a market for it, but I'm with you. I can't, when you add the match fee and the ammo and the gas and then the hotel and food, I can't afford it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge investment. It's a huge investment. And I don't think it's a great venue for bringing new shooters to the sport. I mean, there's some that'll come because of the allure of it, but there's a lot of that would see that and be like, that's way outside of my league, and I'm just not going to dip a toe in that pond, And with a little one-day match like what I got going on, it's inexpensive, it's local, people can just come out and shoot it and not have to put a lot of anything into it other than effort, and I think that's good. And I talked about Mammoth earlier, had I not been in the situation I was, I probably would have never shot it. I mean, I had a lot of help to get there. I didn't have to get a gun. I didn't have to get ammo. There were some of the other expenses that were associated with it that I just didn't have to spend. And so, had I probably wouldn't have competed.
Yeah.
So.
Now, do you have an idea of how many stages you're going to run at this match?
Yeah. So, our goal was to run 6 stages. I went out there last weekend weekend and actually walked the ground and looked at it, and we drew out some sketches and came up with some ideas, and I think we're going to end up running about 5 stages. And I think that's probably the best bet just for the way the layout of the land is there. And I mean, I could run more stages, but they'd end up being real short. And, this is a DMR match, although we are shooting pistols. This is not a pistol match. And if I were to run more stages, some of those stages would definitely be just pistol stages.
Someone hit on this in the comments. Would a bolt gun be competitive in your match? I know Cameron made it clear that wasn't going to happen in his match.
Well, here's what I'll tell you. There's going to be stages where you have probably the competitive edge running a bolt gun. There's going to be some other stages where you definitely don't. Do I think you can be competitive? It's a lot going to have to do with your shooting ability. I know guys that can run bolt guns fast, and so those, some of those guys that I know, they could probably come to this match and be competitive. Will a gas gun probably get you a little bit of a competitive edge over a bolt gunner? Yeah, probably.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who can run a bolt gun fast, so.
Oh,
me neither.
I guys that literally it's hard to describe. There's some dudes that they break out and that bolt's running, but I'm also not running a match geared towards the PRS either. So
yeah.
Good.
So you had mentioned to me earlier about something that you had seen as a trend.
Mm-hmm.
Elaborate on that, please.
And like I said, not trying to go into the realm of bashing anybody, but I've seen a lot of match fees just going through the roof. And there's certain individuals that absolutely want to make money off the sport. And, understand I have no problem with free enterprise or capitalism. But I kind of feel like competition is one of those things where it's an opportunity to give back to the community. And so that's why we're keep it's $50. You'd spend $50 on ammo to go shoot at the range on any one day. So $50 investment to come shoot in a one-day organized match, I don't think that's a big deal. But in some one-day non-series linked matches, running $100, running $90, running more than that, and that's just the kind of thing that I have a hard time getting behind. And another thing about it too is, if you want to make money off your brand. There's a lot of great companies out there that absolutely do that. MPA comes to mind. Phil Cashin runs a great one-day match. He actually runs a club series. He's got 2-day matches, all that kind of stuff. And his one-day matches are really inexpensive. And those matches are some great showcases for the equipment he makes. He makes some phenomenal rifles, some phenomenal chassis, and all that. And that's where, and I'm sure he does pocket some money from his competitions, but he's making his money off of the guns that he sells and the product he sells. He's not out spending people over to get them to come to his match and say that they were able to shoot an MPA match. And then another one is Armageddon Gear, like the guy Tom Fuller and the crew out there. They just got involved with the PRS, and I don't know all the dynamic behind all of that, but he's running his series, and those match fees go in a prize purse to the shooters. I think that first match, the top shooter got $20,000 or something like that, and it's where's that money coming from? Well, it's coming from the match fees, and I think that's kind of more what it's about. That's the kind of giving back to the community. That's allowing guys to be professionals and actually win purses but things like that allow other people to come into the sport and enjoy it. I think it is an investment, but I'd rather invest my money in the stock market than invest my money into some other local guy's pocket because he wants to run competitions and make money off of it. I think that's really kind of the place to do it. I don't think I think it's about getting out, having fun, and hang out with your buddies, and enjoying the community and the camaraderie behind it. And I think that's kind of what it's all about.
All right, so we me and Ashton talked on the last podcast about some tips and tricks that we use personally that help us. It doesn't matter if it's like training related or equipment related or just something that you think is really helpful. So hit on maybe a tip or a trick that you can share the love to some of the newer shooters kind of stuff.
Tips and tricks. Shoot fast and accurately.
God damn, I'm gonna marry you.
Hey, that's a surefire way to win. All right, hit targets, don't miss.
I wish somebody would have told me that last weekend.
I wish somebody would have told you that too, because I have not heard you stop bitching about it yet.
Honestly,
you're gonna hear about it.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Build a stable position and break the trigger clean. There's so many different ways that we can dig down into this rabbit hole, but I of the majority of the times I missed, it's because I didn't have a stable position. And there's a lot of times I kind of compromised to crack a round off because I felt like I needed to get it off, and I'd have been better served, spending a couple extra seconds building up my position. So, if there's anything I can help with a new shooter, and they're practicing, dry fire over in awkward positions. And a buddy of mine, actually, Chris Rance, he just took a picture of a ramp with targets on it, and he blew it up at Kinko's. And he put it on his on the door in his house. He backed up 10 feet, took a step ladder, and he just practiced shooting from alternate positions on that target. And kind of one of those things where, like, you don't realize it's that simple, but that kind of simulated what you would see through the scope, because that magnification on a small, relatively small picture at that distance kind of simulated what you would see out there. And I tried it out, and it was one of those things where it's like, wow, why haven't I been doing my dry fire training like this? I've been staring at a white wall, trying to determine, did I keep my record?
Yeah,
All right,
there's actually a company that sells that exact product now. I'll have to look it up later. I'll send it to you. But they take high definition pictures of different ranges and targets.
Yep.
So basically what I got out of your tips and tricks is don't sweat the petty things, pet the sweaty things, get stable, and practice from unorthodox positions, which actually me and Ashton had said the exact same tip on the last podcast, because me and Ashton are big, like unconventional position shooters. Like that's like, whenever you go into a match, that's something you always run into. So we were telling people, get off your belly and get off the bench. And you basically just said the same thing. So that's awesome.
Myself, guys. I mean, I'm preaching to my own choir here, because it's something I don't do enough.
So let's talk for a minute, because me and Ashton went over it too, and this is kind of going to be the one of the topics that we go through on every podcast that we do now. Let's talk about a piece of equipment or pieces of equipment that you have found is either a really good training tool or something that you've used a lot for your long range shooting. Like for me and Ashton, like I use a tripod a lot because I've found that there's a lot of good training value in using a tripod, because I can use it as a stable, unstable position and make long shots with it. And then also I use it a lot in matches and stuff like that. So like I use it practically and in training. So what is a piece of equipment or something like that? It could be a squeeze bag, it could be whatever, that you find is just like, I use that a lot kind of thing. But don't pick tripod because I already said it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would a phenomenal tool, and the better quality one you can get, the better off you'll be. That being said, I haven't committed my own funds to a good tripod. I usually end up borrowing one. But, honestly, one of the biggest game changers for me has been the game changer.
Yes.
And I feel like there's enough people who've talked about that, so I don't need to dig down into it too deep. but I think it's outside of like a tripod or something like that, it's one of the single best pieces of kit. It works in just about every scenario.
Yep, that was actually me and Ashton talked about that on the last podcast. Like I said, like I use a tripod a lot, and I'll just throw a fucking bag on it and start ripping and rolling shots. And Ash was talking about like how functional a squeeze bag is and stuff like that. So like, yeah, that's same. We have the same thing. All right, so let's talk about we're gonna do this for all three of us, but we'll start with you. Some new developments. Hit us with some new developments.
So new developments. One of the newest things that's come up for me with my match specifically is we brought Hungry Boots Photography into the loop, and Spencer is going to be out there. She's going to be providing her photography services, and I don't know if any of you guys have seen. I'm sure I know you have, Cameron, but she does a great job, and she actually personalizes that shooting match for you. A lot of guys want to be able to remember that, and so she put some effort into you, making sure that she gets you on those stages with that professional quality photography and then development services at the end. And so any of you guys that could be interested in something like that, it's really, really actually inexpensive. You can follow the link on the event page or check out Hungry Boots Photography and hit her up and say, hey, I'm going to be at the Panteo DMR match, and I'd like to look into your services, and she'll get you squared away.
Huh. I feel like I might have run into Spencer once or twice at a couple of matches.
Yeah. Hey.
Yep.
All right, Ash, what's new in the life of the Johnsons, the big Johnsons? Just so y'all know, everyone in the Johnson family is at least 6 foot tall. I'm an average height dude, and every picture I post with them, I look like a midget. Y'all are a bunch of fucking giants. I hate y'all. Hate y'all.
You know I'm the little brother, right?
Say what?
You know I'm the little brother, right?
Nope.
Oh yeah, there's a supersized version of me. Yeah, and the attitude's bigger too. It's pretty phenomenal. But yeah, I'm the baby. So think about that for a second.
You're the little one, is what you're trying to tell us. All right, Ash. What's new in the Johnsons household? The big Johnsons.
Nothing real new in the household. Just cleaned the boat up this afternoon. Going to go fishing this weekend. But more exciting than that, Title II picked me up last weekend, so I'm sponsored by them and super happy about that. Chris Magnet is a super nice guy, so excited.
Yeah, he follows me now.
Him.
No big deal.
He came up and showed the love and support, so I'm happy. I'm going to send my rifle off to him soon to get some fresh paint.
Yes. So, all right. So, new developments in my world. So it turns out that Aerodynamics actually has my reamers now, from what I understand, if I understood correctly, for the rifle cartridge that I've been talking about for, months now. We've been waiting on Pacific Tool. So now Aerodynamics actually has the reamers. So now it's just, Aerodynamics just has to start, making my prototypes. Also, since we were talking about Title II manufacturing, I want to talk about, just for 1 minute, this sexy ass gun right here.
I don't know how you waited that long to talk about it.
Y'all, dude, oh my God, it was so hard. I kept looking back at this gun back here. So I've got the PSA gun that I'm going to shoot in Chris's match. But I have the Title II gun right here. Bruh, she pretty dope. Yeah, I know it doesn't have the can on it. Just give it a couple weeks. I'll have the can on it. But, oh my God, the Cameron Hayes DMR rifle. Look, it's got my name on it. It's got my name on it. Bruh, she pretty. I just want to. Okay, so anyway, got the GAT. It's sexy as all shit. I can't wait. I can't fucking wait to shoot it. And also, once my rifle cartridge gets put into a barrel, like once they ream out a barrel or whatever, Aerodynamics is going to have me a barrel. I'm going to put that bitch in that gun, and then I'm going to shoot that gun in my rifle cartridge. So, boy, when I say I'm excited, oh, shit, I'm a little bit excited. Anyway, so that's one of the new developments in my life. And then I've also got, is on the Army side, as some of you guys know, I am the senior gunner for the 1452nd currently. So I do. We had VCOT training last month, or this past weekend was pretty dope. This weekend coming up, I'm supposed to go to. I'm not gonna name drop yet. I'm supposed to go to a sniper section and go, wave my hands and say, hey, I'm, Staff Sergeant Cameron Hayes. I'm here to fuck shit up, kind of thing. I might wear a tuxedo. We'll see. So I'm supposed to go do that this weekend. But as I understand it, somebody heard that there might be somebody coming over there who wasn't organic to that unit, and some people started moving some paperwork around that wasn't mine. So I'm not saying that people in the Army are a bunch of fucking backstabbers, but what I am saying is, but people in the Army are a bunch of fucking backstabbers. So anyway, that's a new development on the. What's that?
How many sections does that unit have?
How many sections does that unit have? How many sniper sections, or just sections in general?
Yeah, no, generically sections in the entire unit. No, of course, sniper sections.
One.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so there's only one senior sniper position, or an E6 position in that unit. Only one.
I know some guys that are over there in South Carolina that are in A section, but the Army is not as small as a lot of people want to think it is.
Yeah. No, this is a North Carolina unit.
Oh, don't worry, I'm in a different time zone.
I don't even live there. So anyway, so that's new developments. Like aerodynamic stuff, Title II stuff. What else we got here? Talking points, Ashton.
Sponsors.
Well, since we're already here, and I'm the one already talking, let me pull up my quick little sponsor list. Let me pull it up. It's right there. It is. All right. So Title II Manufacturing. They made that dope ass GAT right there. Aerodynamics. They, I go shoot for them. I wear, aerodynamic stuff. They made my dope ass 6.5 comp match bolt gun. They're gonna be pushing out my rifle cartridge. Bullet Consulting Group. They made my Glock 19 slide that's all dead pulled out and shit like that. Control Solutions muzzle brake, one of those. I'm actually supposed to go eat with Jeremy and his brother Tony tomorrow at some titty bar or something like that. I don't know. We're going Summers. Todd Resource Management, they support my YouTube channel. They let me, evaluate products, and they also are hosting the Shaytac series right now, which is dope. I've had a blast shooting that series when I can. Unfortunately, I am still in the Army, and it interferes with some of my shooting, but it'd be like that sometimes. Green Mountain Defense, Kent Hauer, is talking about having me teach a designated marksman class in Pennsylvania. And also he teaches classes, and he hosts people like Scott Jenlinski and stuff like that. You guys have some of you guys have probably seen me on the Sling and Lead Live podcast. So they were going to do a podcast right after this one, but they ended up canceling their podcast tonight. Something came up, I guess, and they're going to be pushing it to next week. So next Tuesday, go watch the Sling and Lead Live podcast. They're great dudes. They've had me on there a few times. They're just like, top shelf people. They're good dudes. 903 Tactical. George Gubler actually owns that company, and I got to hang out with him a little bit this past weekend before he went back home to Texas. Awesome dude. Resurgence PPG, they help disabled veterans by, letting them, talk about, some of their issues and stuff like that. They let them ride on a paraglide and stuff. And, it's just like a different way to deal with things. Like you can nominate people to get to go do the paraglide rides and stuff like that. Jordan Spradley made me a Sprad bag. Love that dude. He's awesome. He's good people. Apparently, he's some kind of cameraman. And next weekend, I'm supposed to be, going out to Florida to go make some videos. So be looking forward to that. Fortitude Consulting, Gil Narvez. You know him, Ashton. He's a good dude. He hosts like some, dynamic carbine and tactical pistol classes and stuff like that. Aim at Guns, Phoenix Strategies. No one knows what Phoenix Strategies does. Not even I know what Phoenix Strategies does. What's that?
They're not supposed to.
Yeah, so like I dead ass want to make like a funny like spoof commercial where I'm like, you're probably wondering what Phoenix Strategies does. I want to know the same thing. Like, I'm Cameron Hayes and I'm a spokesman for Phoenix Strategies, like that kind of shit. Canebrake Consulting, Mike Lewis, is the dude who made the zero offset tool. I can't, give that dude enough props for seeing a deficiency within the Army and then actually doing something about it. Most people just see a deficiency and then bitch about it. So, love that guy for that. What you got?
Match.
He what now?
I said he's coming to shoot the match.
Fucking A right he is. That's good people right there. And Palmetto State Armory, they want to do something with me. I want to do something with them. We just haven't decided yet what it's going to be. So anyway, Ash, talk about your sponsors for a minute.
I swear your sponsor list grows by 2 or 3 every time you talk about it.
Well, maybe if you were as good a shooter as me, Ashton.
Hey,
if you swing over to the gas gun side, aka the dark side, Black Rifles Matter, then maybe, just maybe, you'd have some goddamn sponsors. Go ahead and throw yours out there.
I'm tickled to death with Title II. That's all I need. I'm happy.
Ouch. So first of all, I'm happy with Title. I'm more happy with Title II. You know what, Chris? Who are your sponsors?
I'm actually not allowed to have sponsors because of what I do for a living, but I will talk about people sponsoring my match.
Do it.
There you go.
So Aim at Guns, they're kind of taking lead on a lot of this stuff. They're really helping me out with the match. So they're the lead sponsor. Panteo Sportsman's Club. I'm gonna throw them out there. Obviously, they're hosting the match. Word on the street is Fernando's gonna possibly throw up some stuff for the prize table for a few people in the way of I don't know, range time memberships, whatever it is. I don't know what it is. We haven't nailed it down. It doesn't matter. He's hosting it, so that's all that really does matter. B5 Systems, they hit me up. They got that new precision carbine stock, which if you guys do not have that in your life, you need to get it. It's one of the best things I've seen in the gas gun world in a long time.
I'm going to need to take a look at that because I have no idea what you're talking about. So I need you to shoot me a link when we're done with this.
They made a butt stock that does everything that like the Magpul PRS does, but it is also still collapsible.
What'd you say it was?
The B5 Systems Precision Carbine stock. I think it just went up on the net in the last month or so. Solid piece of kit. Think you guys should check it out. They're going to be possibly having some representation at the match. Mark Keller over there is a solid dude. He's going to send some stuff out. So I might even have a couple of stocks to give away. And then Osaka Apparel. We linked up with those guys. They're obviously big supporters of my community. They actually made this shirt for the cadre of the International Sniper Competition last year. And they're going to be hooking us up with some shirts. So stay tuned for that and the great things that they do.
Okay, so now that we're wrapping it up, we've about hit that mark. We've gone 9 minutes past that mark. Ashton, hope you've been tracking those questions, dog. I'm gonna need you to send them questions our way.
All right, this I think will be good for you and Chris. How do snipers in the field versus competition rely on tripod use? From AJ James.
Chris, you want to hit this first?
I would say that the tripod is continuing to prove itself as a tool that can work in almost every scenario, from supporting the rifle in replacement of bipods, all the way to you guys are using them for rear support now. with the buttstock up against one of the legs. So it's just a very versatile piece of kit. We've been using them for years in my community, but we were using those old. I think I have it in the room here somewhere. One of those old Walmart camera tripods that I painted tan, and then took a Sam splint and put it on there, made a little cradle and to shoot off of. But especially in your urban environments, they prove dividends for the sniper community. Staircases, rooms, roofs, up angle, down angle stuff. You see it in the law enforcement guys using them, especially. I'm sure some of you guys have probably seen the pictures of the stadium shoots. That's if tripods didn't exist, those shots would be near impossible. So, just a great piece of kit all the way around. I think it's probably, you said I couldn't cover it, but it's probably the number one piece of kit that anybody could really invest in money in. And anything you can do with a bipod, you can do with a tripod.
So in my opinion, like as far as like the sniper world versus the competition world, because you pretty much hit the nail on the head on the sniper world side of like using tripods. Like they're extremely versatile. I for a long time took my tripod to every single precision rifle match that I went to and never used the fucking thing, because every precision rifle match that I went to had like standards where you have to shoot off of this, you have to shoot under this, you have to shoot around this, and there was never the opportunity to use it. So I was just lugging that heavy bitch around for no reason until I shot the Snipers Unknown Challenge last year. When I shot the Snipers Unknown Challenge last year, I told my partner, I was like, you know what, man? We bring our tripods to every match we shoot. We never use them sons of bitches. Leave them in the truck. We left them in the truck on day one. Huge fucking mistake. We needed it on every single stage. There were some stages in Snipers Unknown that if you didn't have a tripod, you could not shoot that stage unless you were shooting standing, unsupported. So, rough. We had a rough first day. But then we brought the tripods for day two and used them on every single fucking stage. Now, since then, I've used my tripod twice in competition on two stages, just two stages, not even throughout the whole match. I've used my tripod twice since Snipers Unknown last year. So I would say on the competition side, you generally do not need a tripod until you need a tripod.
That's true. And there's a lot of match directors that purposely build matches that don't let you use them. They're there.
All right, what's another question, Ash?
That's pretty much it for the questions.
Really?
Everything else we've covered while talking.
Well, I'm not going to call you a liar, but I'm calling you a liar right now.
Someone asked late, is Chris's match a two-gun? We covered that. It is a two-gun, if I understood correctly, pistol and rifle, correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
Every stage will have pistol targets. I will just go ahead and give you guys a nugget now for those like three people that are listening.
You're giving it. There's three of us in this room, in this chat room right now. So that's the three, right?
Well, no, there's one more because I already know. But that's probably how you will open just about every stage. So it'll be some rifle or some pistol targets, and then you'll move into your rifle targets.
AJ did have a follow-up question on the tripod. Wanted to know if it's worth the weight to pack in. I think this is more towards the sniper side of it.
You're talking about weight, like
yes.
Not worth the weight, but worth the weight, like the pounds.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes. I'm gonna say yes.
My match, no, but normally yes.
Yeah, if you're doing snipery things, for sure, bring a tripod. If you're doing if you're a member of a squad and you're a designated marksman, a rifleman in a squad, don't get a tripod. But if you are a sniper, like a legit ass sniper, get a tripod. Use a tripod. Actually, if you're a legit sniper, then it's part of your equipment that you get issued, your TA-50. So.
And if you're a competitor and can afford it, there is some light, heavy-duty tripods that are real stable. But they're expensive.
And if you're a baller on a budget, the Bog Pod, I recently discovered this. So like I'm a big fan of the Shadow Tech. That's what I have. But the Bog Pod, that one actually is not terrible. It's not awful. And you can get it regular or you can get it carbon fiber. So it is actually lighter in the carbon fiber than the one that I use. And it's about $100 cheaper. And it comes with a ball head already, like a head for it. The only downside that I see to it over the one that I have is that you can't elevate the stem. You can only elevate it by the legs, which, you know, like that could be a user thing. Like I never elevate my stem anyway. I'm not using the right word, but you guys know what I'm talking about. So there's that. That's a thing.
All right, we got time for one more question.
Sure.
All right, Terry Williams asked, unsupported. He's not that good at it. He wants some tips on unsupported shooting. I know I've got some I can give.
Yep, not my lane.
For a bolt gun.
I got this. Go ahead, Ash.
You want me to start?
Go ahead.
For me, it's a reeser bag and what they call free recoil. I had been doing that for a while, but I had worked my trigger down to about 6 to 8 ounces now on the bolt gun, and I'll put it on a reeser bag and hold over the top of the scope and actually run my stock in to where I'm not touching it with my shoulder and I'm not touching it with my cheek. It's just hand right over the reeser bag, and I'm driving the rifle with it and a 6 to 8 ounce trigger pull. That takes all of the user input, your muscles, your body touching it, and anything that can make the rifle move or heartbeat affect it, takes it all out. And it's just one slight trigger press. I don't even wrap my hand around the pistol grip a lot of the times if it's a real awkward shooting position. The less I can get, the more of my body I can get off of it, the more stable it is.
Ash, was he talking about standing supported or standing unsupported?
He didn't say standing. He just said shooting unsupported.
Unsupported.
Yes, you're talking about using a bag that's supported. What you just described.
So standing unsupported, yeah, I suck at it.
I think everybody.
Cameron's the guy.
Okay, so standing unsupported, or just like any real unsupported shooting, because like there was a stage at Bushnell and stuff like that. What I've found works the best, you know, just we had already covered it a little bit of dry fire. I dry fire the shit out of these guns. So like I dry fire. But what I've found as far as the standing unsupported position is that, come here, gun, is that whenever I'm using whatever rifle I might be using, that if I blade my body to the target and I tuck my elbow into my side and then just rest the rifle, this is strictly gas gun right now because it doesn't work the same with a bolt gun because your bolt gun's dynamic is a little bit different. You have to sling a bolt and stuff like that. But with my gas gun, I found that I'll grab it as close to the center point or the bounce point of that gun as I can, which is basically up against the mag well. And sometimes I won't even put this in my shoulder if I have too long of a stock. The A2 stock is actually perfect for me, but whenever I use my Luth AR stock, it's too big. So I actually have the stock up on top of my shoulder so that I can see properly through the scope. And I will rest the rifle just like this, and I'll shoot it like that in competitions and shit. So during Snipers Unknown last year, I had to make a 400-yard shot with my 5.56 like this, and I got first round impact standing. So I practice a lot of standing shooting, but what I found works the best is because, you know, like I'm a bigger guy, my body mechanics and stuff like that, is whenever I tuck my elbow, I just have my elbow as close to my body as possible. I try to make my left arm as straight up and down as possible, and I just rest the gun, and I will blade the target. I know that's not good from like a body armor standpoint or whatever, but if you have enough time to get in this position anyway, you know, you've got that time. Second thought, though, and I found this to work for like lighter guns, is, you know, like everybody talks shit about Chris Costa and stuff like that. I get it, whatever. But something I did learn from Chris Costa, though, was that whenever I grab the gun way far out forward, even if I have to make a long standing shot, it is easier to hold the gun stable whenever I do it that way. So that's a consideration that you need to make and something that you need to find out for your body type with dry fire practice.
when he says he's practiced this a lot, I have not been to the range with him yet that he has not dry fired, standing, unsupported, and fired.
A lot.
And I end up getting up there and trying it as well. And I found, for me personally, the quicker I can get the shot off, the more stable I am. 10, 15 seconds in, I go to crap.
Yeah, and that's where, like, I seriously think they put that in a lot of matches because they know that people are running 30-pound guns, 25-pound guns, 20-pound guns. And then you got, a dude like me who comes to all these matches and I'm shooting a 12-pound gun. So I have an advantage in that aspect. Now, a disadvantage to having a light gun, like that is an advantage. Whenever you're shooting from weird positions, like it's easy to get the gun stable. But a disadvantage that you have with a light gun is that whenever you just dead ass drop that gun on something and you have a heavy gun, it ain't going nowhere. If you got a light gun, you sit that gun down and you're all kinds of wobbling and stuff like that because you're holding on to nothing. So that's why I like to incorporate weight, like what Ashton was talking about a minute ago. I'll put weight on my handguard and I'll just press down on it so that I'm adding additional weight to the center point of that gun. So it holds it's your body's way of simulating additional weight so that, the gun stays more stable. Stability, Chris was talking about it earlier. Stability is important. It's very important. Are those all the questions, Ashton?
Yeah, we can wrap it up now.
All right. Well, Chris, you got any final thoughts?
Don't suck. Shoot straight.
Ash?
The words to live by.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Tune in next time I have one. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that. Follow these guys too. And you'll see whenever the next podcast is going to be. I don't want to say it's going to be every week because really, honestly and truly, I'm a very busy dude. I don't know what my weeks include most of the time. So the next podcast that I have, I'm not even sure who's going to be on it, but just stick around my Facebook and stuff like that, and you'll find out. Other than that, I appreciate you guys watching, and love you guys.
Thanks.